Greetings of peace and love, my people. This is Anna Renee, and I am your love power goddess, coming to you all on this very wonderful day. It is February 9th. I'm late for bringing forth the energy of Aquarius. I apologize to all you who are Aquarius. I have to admit that I'm a little bit done with this book. I just have to say it. But I am obligated to read the entire book. I've been reading this book for an entire year. I started last year in February, and now it is February once again, and I'm reading the sign of Aquarius to all of you very wonderful Aquarians out there. I myself am Aquarius. I have a moon in Aquarius. My moon is in the wonderful sign of Aquarius. And so, I am reading the very last sign. It's not the last sign of the zodiac, but for whatever reason, I actually started reading this entire book starting at Pisces, the very last sign. I really don't know why I did that, but that is what it is. And so now, I'm at Aquarius after having read all the signs, and this is the last one that I'm reading for us all. Aquarius, the water bearer, from January 21st through February 19th. And I'm reading from the book Ancient Astrological Secrets of the Jews Revealed by astrologer Reuven Shamrani. Yes. So, the ruling intelligence of this sign, Naphtali, originality, humanitarianism, independence, intellectual brilliance. Well, planetary ruler, Saturn, which is governed by the Sephira Zophikiel in its benevolent role. Understanding of the mysteries, vision, attunement with the inevitable and the infinite, the bridge between time and eternity. The Kabbalistic number is 7. Specific qualities endowed or particularly emphasized by each of the sign's decanates are as follows. January 21st through 30th inclusive, high-strung, nervous, impatient. January 31st through February 9th inclusive, ambitions, exceptional ability, excellent indicators for material success. And February 10th through the 19th inclusive, rapid changes, frequent disappointments, and restlessness. Okay, according to ancient astrologers, Aquarius is the day or light sign of Saturn, which exerts its opposite or night or dark influence in its rulership of Capricorn. This is the doctrine of Chaldeans, Egyptians, Greco-Romans, and Hebrews alike. All agreed that Aquarius enjoys the benevolent influences of Saturn, and this concept remained unchallenged until 1781, when the planet Uranus was discovered by astronomers. The identification of a new quote-unquote planet caused consternation among conventional astrologers of the 18th century. That consternation increased when the planet was arbitrarily named Uranus for the Greek god who fathered the Titans and was overthrown by the god Kronos. By some process no one has ever troubled to make clear, the qualities of sudden change, willfulness, and iconoclasm, to name only a few, were ascribed to Uranus. Then, the 18th century popularizers realized they had an extra planet. They had to do something with it, assign it some role in their astrological scheme, which by that time had veered off in several directions from the pure astrology to be found in the Kabbalah, Zohar, and other abstruse works, breaking completely with established, ageless astrological principles which, with ample logic and justification, assigned rulership of Aquarius to Saturn. The 18th century popularizers decided to make the new planet Uranus the ruler of the sign. This decision has, of course, been the cause of endless confusion ever since. It has served to upset all analysis and interpretation of Aquarius, creating a muddle of inconsistency and contradiction impossible to resolve. Thousands of years of study, knowledge, and experience were summarily tossed aside. Aquarius took on an entirely new, different, and arbitrarily defined character. Among the qualities with which Uranus was invested and which it was said to impart to natives of the 11th sign were hostility, antagonism, combativeness, and even criminality. Today's conventional astrologers are still burdened by the concepts and interpretations hastily evolved by their spiritual forebears in the late 1700s. Exponents of Hebrew astrology, which, after all, is, as Carl Jung said, the summation of all the psychological knowledge of antiquity, hold that the original system remains valid. They maintain that the sign of Aquarius is properly understood only if its rulership by Saturn is accepted. Certainly, there appears to be ample justification for this contention. The qualities of the sign are much more consonant with the patterns established by Saturn in its positive and benign role, with Aquarius being its day or light sign. Aquarius is a strongly masculine and positive sign in Hebrew astrology, possessing none of the hazy, ineffective qualities with which it has been invested by the moderns. It is also said to be a sign of superior spirit, quote unquote, fixed, humane, and violent. This last is vehemently denied by today's popularizers, who are then left at a loss to explain certain aspects of Aquarian nature. The wholly muddled view that most modern astrologers take of Aquarius is reflected by this quote taken from a recently published book written by a foremost popularizer. Generally speaking, Aquarians are clumsy, blundering, harmless, well-meaning people with little backbone and less common sense, quote unquote. And so there it goes, huh? At least this is not what Reuven is saying. This is what the old or the new popularizers are saying. How the misguided moderns expect to reconcile such assessments of Aquarius with proven fact is a mystery to baffle any student of astrology. Statistics reveal that more than 75% of all people whose names have been enshrined in the Hall of Fame were born under the sign of Aquarius. Yale University's renowned Dr. Ellsworth Huntington, in his book Seasons of Birth, proves that among people whose intelligence reaches genius level, more are Aquarians than natives of any other sign. And consider a random sampling of famed Aquarians. Abraham Lincoln, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Gertrude Stein, Evangeline Adams, Tallulah Bankhead, Thomas A. Edison, Samuel Gompers, Charles A. Lindbergh, General Douglas MacArthur, Adlai Stevenson, General Omar Bradley, Admiral Hyman Rickover, Dean Rusk, John Barrymore, Clark Gable, Lana Turner, Norman Mailer, James Michener, Jackie Robinson, Louis Nizer, Sinclair Lewis, James Joyce, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Arthur Rubinstein, Lord Byron, Charles Dickens. Well, okay. That's the longest list that he's ever published in this book. Whoa! Those Aquarians, I tell you what, they are the bomb a Decanates. The list could be extended almost indefinitely, but then the proofs are overwhelming. Aquarians are anything but clumsy, blundering, harmless, well-meaning people with little backbone and less common sense. The moderns are wrong, and the ancient analyses and interpretations are as valid today as ever. Aquarius is, as Kabbalah and Zohar state without equivocation, a Saturn-ruled sign of genius and of achievement and attainment on the grandest scale. So there it is, alright? Yeah! Right on, Aquarians. Y'all are just the bomb diggity in intelligence. I'm so thankful that mine is a moon Aquarian. so I get a little bit of that wonderfulness too. Okay, you the individual. The Kabbalah and Zohar declare that the diurnal rulership of Saturn and its Sephira over Aquarius signifies friends, supporters, benefactors, and good fortune. The Kabbalistic number 7 denotes deep wisdom, search for truth, introspection, and meditation, completion, powerful and penetrating intellect, and great imagination. Contrary to the widely held opinions of present-day popular astrologers, you Aquarians are remarkably practical, well-balanced, and productive people. You are not woolly-headed visionaries. Oh my God. Okay, we're not gonna even comment on that one. Or wildly emotional revolutionaries. While you have extremely tolerant, progressive natures, you seldom go to extremes without good reason or purpose. Aquarians are not destructive. They have no desire to tear things down simply for the sake of wrecking or registering their protest or dissatisfaction. If they set out to demolish, it is only to clear ground for a far better, sounder structure, for which they already have all plans and necessary materials ready. And once the demolition job is done, 11 sign natives may be counted upon to work industriously and efficiently to do the job of building anew. If you are a student of astrology and have had your thinking molded by the familiar conventional doctrines, then you have doubtless encountered many inconsistencies in analyses of your sign and personality. This, of course, is due to the nonsensical assignment of dominion over Aquarius to Uranus. Try to look at yourself in the light of ancient teaching. Evaluate your character and personality according to interpretations that remain unchanged from the time of the Chaldeans down through the ages to the latter part of the 18th century. It's likely that you'll gain much valuable and new, quote-unquote, insight into yourself. Disregard all that you've read and heard about Aquarians: inaccuracy, slovenliness, tactlessness, exaggeration, and rebelliousness. These are traits that the moderns tacked on first to Uranus, and then by extension to Aquarius, most probably because they had no other place to tack them. Certainly, they had no justification for assigning them to the 11th sign. The ancients agreed that Aquarians are idealists, people who think of others and desire to better the world and to benefit humanity. However, as anyone reading Kabbalah, Zohar, and other works written by the Jewish scholars who preserved the astrology of antiquity and passed it down to us will see, Aquarians are also eminently practical people. Alright, let me just stop right there. So there it is. He admits it. He admits that, well, he already has admitted it, that The Jews have preserved astrology, the astrology of antiquity, and passed it down to us. So, as I was saying when I very first started reading this book, and the reason for me even reading a book based in Kabbalah as it pertains to astrology is because I believe that the Jews did actually that. They preserved the ancient, okay? And pretty much the ancient is the ancient Egyptian, which we know are the Kemetian people, right? Let's just say that, okay? In other words, the African people of ancient Egypt. So yes, okay. So they had the wherewithal to hold on. I guess they weren't under any kind of persecution, so they held on to the old interpretations and protected them throughout the ages. And so when we read from Kabbalah, we're really going back to, as he keeps saying, the Chaldean and the Zohar, which really is the ancient Egyptians, okay? So there it is, our black culture right there. Thank you, Jewish people. Alright, so let's finish here. However, as anyone reading Kabbalah, Zohar, and other works written by the Jewish scholars who preserved the astrology of antiquity and passed it down to us will see, Aquarians are also eminently practical people. They have a rare talent for translating the loftiest, most complex abstract thoughts into concrete results. They possess fantastic powers of concentration. Their memory is phenomenal. They are liberally endowed with the rare qualities of leadership that truly inspire others to follow. Nor are Aquarians ivory tower recluses. On the contrary, they are warm, outgoing, sociable people, wonderful and witty conversationalists, delightful companions, fine and loyal friends. The diurnal influence of Saturn endows maturity of thought and judgment, seriousness of mind without severity of nature, a love of learning and culture, and a magnetic personality. Wow, 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 wow. The destiny of those born under the benign diurnal rule of Saturn is usually favorable, often dazzling in its promise and complete in its fulfillment. That is very encouraging, isn't it, my Aquarian people? Make the most of mind power. The moderns frequently argue that Aquarians tend to be impractical dreamers, individuals who have their heads in the clouds and use their intellects to build airy, fairy fantasies. Aquarius natives often give the impression of brilliance, but they are flighty, irresponsible, and they tend to waste their efforts and energies on projects that can produce no tangible results. So writes a currently much acclaimed American astrologer whose star guide, quote unquote, column is syndicated in some 200 newspapers from coast to coast. Oh, I wonder who that was. Who was the major astrologer back in the 70s? I really wonder who that was. He dropped some serious hints with that one, huh? Star Guide. I'm going to do a Google search on that. Star Guide, Astrology, 1972. See what comes up. All right. Well, if the Abraham Lincolns, Thomas Edisons, Charles A. Lindberghs, and others of their Aquarian ilk are flighty and irresponsible, then this astrologer's absurdities must be accepted. But then it's hardly necessary to belabor the issue. The Aquarian intellect has few equals, no superiors, and it operates equally well on abstract and practical levels. You natives of the 11th zodiacal sign are capable of astounding mental feats. You are inventors, originators, innovators. You can formulate ideas on a cosmic scale as readily as you can produce finished working plans for a specific enterprise. Do not be misled by the current crop of astrologers who so often claim that Aquarians allow their thoughts to run away with them, that they think too big, quote unquote, for the task at hand. Such contentions are patently false. Aquarius is even more capable of keeping things in proper perspective than is Capricorn. In fact, the Aquarian brain possesses all the positive, constructive qualities found in Capricorn, plus inventive genius, flexibility, resilience, originality, versatility, and a remarkable capacity for adjusting rapidly to new situations and conditions. Ancient astrologers recognized that natives of the 11th zodiacal sign were much blessed and favored with intellectual ability. Several of the most learned commentators on Kabbalah and Zohar state that Aquarians are endowed with mental equipment sufficient unto virtually any task. Furthermore, the Jewish astrologers of old repeatedly emphasized that natives of this sign were uniquely intuitive, endowed with exceptional degrees of insight, and eminently practical and level-headed. Contrast this analysis with the descriptions of Aquarian mentality to be found in the New Astrology, based on the system in which the 11th sign is ruled by Uranus. Aquarians are formidable opponents in any competitive situation. Their keen, imaginative intellects enable them to plan their moves far ahead, react instantly when faced with risk or threat. They are capable, literally, of outthinking the opposition and, indeed, masters at the intellectual art of swiftly devising, slashing counter-offensives. One of the most impressive intellectual assets with which you Aquarians are endowed is your capacity for storing knowledge and information. But you do not merely cache these away in dormant storage banks. Your minds have a computer-like quality in that they can immediately recall stored matter. Then you go even further, determining instantly how recalled information or knowledge may be used to produce desired results. Interacting with others. Astrologers of both old and new schools are generally agreed that Aquarians tend to be sociable, personable, charming, and friendly people. But the moderns claim that the 11th sign folk are inclined to be extremely nervous, eccentric, extremely susceptible to praise and flattery. The Hebrew astrologers disagree. The profile they draw of Aquarian personality shows strong indications of inner calm, discretion, reliability, ambition, tact, and a level-headed nature that does not permit itself to be easily swayed by applause, admiration, or adulation. Our contemporary popularizers seem to delight in characterizing Aquarian natives as, to quote a leading Hollywood astrologer, airy and unstable in temperament, stubborn, not a person who is easy to get along with, and often a bully. Does this description fit you, Aquarius? You know what? I think I know who he's talking about. Hollywood astrologer. I know who he's talking about. He's talking about Linda Goodman. She was extremely popular back in the 70s. I have at least a couple of her books, and she had tons of different books, and she remained popular even after her death. Okay, she was popular. Her books are popular until this very day, to be honest. But she was really the thing, and I know she was a Hollywood astrologer, even based on the way her books read. She does her reading as though she's talking about a movie. She reads in a very interesting way. She does a very interesting way of reading, and it's based in as though she's creating a film, a clip of a movie or something. That's who he's talking about. He's talking about Linda Goodman. Yeah, she's the only one who is super popular. Talking about throwing shade. Okay, he wanted to make sure we know who he meant. He really gave the clues right here. Hollywood astrologer. Come on now, Mr. Reuben Shamrani. I see some jealousy in the works with that one. Anyway, it very probably does not. Unless, of course, you have... Let me go back. Does this description fit you, Aquarians? Airy and unstable in temperament, stubborn and not a person who is easy to get along with, and often a bully? It very probably does not. Unless, of course, you have allowed yourself to be mesmerized into believing that the erroneously based conclusions of the popularizers do match your personality. In which case, you are forcing yourself to fit into someone else's preconceived mold. And that's another thing, too. You can be, he calls it mesmerized, but you can be influenced by what you read about these astrology type things. You know, you can read about it and then you, just like he said, you put yourself into the mold. If you hadn't read it, you wouldn't even consider that you may be that way. Once you read it, you automatically believe it. And sometimes it just ain't the truth. But then you put yourself in that mode, you start seeing yourself as that, and then you end up turning into that, or working against your true nature, which you end up losing. You forget who you really are because you're trying to fit into a mold that is not yours, as he says, a preconceived mold. True, you have humor and wit and can smile even when faced with serious problems and difficulties, but this is an earnest of mental and emotional maturity, rather than evidence of an airy, unstable temperament. By the same token, you have the courage of your convictions and do not back down in the face of opposition, but this does not make you stubborn. Then, if the truth is known, you Aquarians are very easy to get along with, provided all other things are equal. You become difficult only when your intuition and common sense tell you that someone is lying, deceiving, has ulterior motives, or is simply wrong. Finally, there is very little of the bully in you. It's simply that when you are convinced that something is right, you employ all your very considerable enthusiasm, energy, and powers of persuasion to prove the point to others. Actually, Aquarians have a singular gift for making friends, for getting along with people, and interacting with them. They lead by example and by inspiration. They embark on any undertaking with spirited zeal and are unafraid to venture into unknown, uncharted, and possibly dangerous areas. They are the sort of people whom others follow cheerfully, even eagerly, for there is zest and exhilaration in what Aquarians do. 11th sign folk are excellent friends, loyal and devoted. They are honest and sincere. They are always willing to be of service to others, to aid and advise, counsel and cooperate at every level, and to the limit of their ability. When in doubt about yourself, Aquarius, remember Hebrew astrology's keywords for your sign: originality, humanitarianism, independence, intellectual brilliance. These are your cardinal qualities that enable you to interact with others, overcome obstacles and opposition, and attain your loftiest ambitions and aspirations. Romantic relationships. In the astrological books most likely to be familiar to you, Aquarius is alleged to be a sign that endows a rather low sexual drive. Indeed, the majority of popularizers claim that friendship largely replaces romantic love and sex in the lives of 11th sign natives. Some writers on the subject try to hedge or devise means whereby they may cover all contingencies. An example of this can be found in one of the many best-selling books written by Ilya Chamberlain, who has been styled America's leading modern astrologer. Chamberlain writes, Aquarians do not come equipped with a very powerful sex drive, yet they can be intensely passionate and satisfying lovers. How the ancient Hebrew astrologers must be churning in their graves over statements such as that one. That is kind of contradictory, huh? That doesn't make no kind of sense. Aquarians do not come equipped with a very powerful sex drive, yet they can be intensely passionate and satisfying lovers. Okay. With all due respect to Mr. Ilya Chamberlain, he should refer to Kabbalah and Zohar, where Aquarius is clearly designated a violent quote-unquote sign. Violent in the sense that it is a sign capable of intense passion, very highly sexed, and inclined to engage in volcanic love affairs. Whoa. The picture of the Aquarian as a friendly, wishy-washy lover is all wrong. Any version that holds Aquarians to be uninterested in romance and romantic love ignores or denies facts. The diurnal rulership of Saturn over Aquarius, as is postulated by the Hebrew system of astrology, endows natives of the sign with strong, imaginative sexual appetites. They have a vital, enthusiastic sexual outlook, but at the same time, they are also people who desire more than mere physical gratification. The Aquarian native desires intellectual and emotional stimulation in relationships with members of the opposite sex. There must be some mutuality of interest, and there must be a fair degree of mutual respect if any romantic relationship is to flourish. You Aquarians are not prudes or Puritans by any stretch of the imagination, nor are you fastidious, ultra-discriminating, judging others by artificial and arbitrary standards. However, you do pick and choose to the extent that you desire your partners to be intelligent, pleasant, warm, affectionate, and fun. You also prefer people whose outlooks and attitudes are tolerant, progressive, free of cant and hypocrisy. The Aquarian male is a good, understanding, protective, and supportive husband. He is not overly jealous or possessive. He usually believes that his wife is an individual, a human being, fully entitled to all the respect, sympathy, and understanding that he desires to receive for himself. He will furthermore respect her right to express her opinions and be independent to a degree far beyond that which males of most other signs are inclined to permit their wives. Lady Aquarius is at least as good a wife. She looks upon marriage as a partnership, and she will not demand any more than she is willing to give. Her attitude toward her mate will be tolerant. She is not apt to be jealous, possessive, or difficult. She will be loyal, devoted, helpful, and passionate as long as her husband shows her respect and love and acknowledges her as an individual with a mind and thoughts of her own. Kabbalistic astrologers reject modern concepts of Aquarians as indifferent marriage partners, but they do feel that natives of this sign have optimum chances for happy, enduring marriage if they wait until they are in their mid-20s before they marry. Furthermore, they warn 11-sign natives against matrimonial ventures with people born under two of the signs customarily recommended as ideal mates by modern popularizers. Those signs, Gemini and Libra, are considered harmonious by the popularizers who give rulership of Aquarius to the planet Uranus. In the Hebrew system, where the 11th sign was ruled by Saturn, all three signs of the fiery trigon are recommended as being well aspected for Aquarius. Well, interesting. Alright. Mastery in the material sphere. The 18th century revision of astrological doctrine that gave the newly discovered planet Uranus dominion over the 11th sign greatly downgraded Aquarian potential for success in the realm of the material. Aquarius was thenceforth classified as visionary and impractical, with such authorities as Robeson labeling its natives shiftless wastrels. Goodness gracious. While it's rather difficult to see how this squares with the spectacular achievements of Aquarians such as those we mentioned earlier, perhaps it's best to be charitable with the modern authorities. Oh, and one other Aquarian, Lady Obama. Miss Michelle Obama, I think, is an Aquarian, or is she Capricorn? No, I think she might be a Capricorn. I can't remember for sure. But anyway. Alright, let's continue here. While it's rather difficult to see how this squares with the spectacular achievements of Aquarians such as those we mentioned earlier, perhaps it's best to be charitable with the modern authorities. Let us assume that they have been making honest mistakes of omission, and with that give them no further thought. Let us concentrate instead on the interpreters of Kabbalah and Zohar, the students of ancient astrology who tell us that Aquarians are brilliant, inventive, constructive, persistent, and determined. We must accept the great practical strength of Aquarius, give full credit to the sign as one which endows its natives with a very high success quotient. Otherwise, and please take note, authorities, Robeson, Chamberlain, et al., how could it possibly be that over 3/4 of the people whose names are inscribed in the Hall of Fame are Aquarians? Are you serious? I gotta check that out. I wonder if that's true. How could it be that over 3/4 of the people whose names are inscribed in the Hall of Fame are Aquarians? That question should finish off the conventional moderns once and for all. I think so. Actually, you 11 sign folk are highly favored for achievement and attainment in a multitude of different fields. You are among our finest teachers, scientists, inventors, medical researchers, honest politicians, government officials, attorneys, writers, dramatists, composers, philosophers, and technologists. You fare well in business and industry. You have the imagination and inventive ability to devise new service industries, improved products, more efficient ways of getting things done. Your intuition enables you to be extremely successful as investors, and even speculators. Unlike Capricorns, your nocturnal opposites, under the rulership of Saturn, you are ideally suited to invest in up to the minute or even avant-garde enterprises. If your intuition tells you that this or that glamour industry is going to catch on and be a huge success, listen to your intuition. You're very likely to be right. That's pretty good. I like that reading. Details by Decanates. First decan, January 21st through 30th. Venus holds dominion over this period. There is conflict between its influences and those of Saturn. The net result is a tendency for natives to be rather short on patience. They incline to be nervous and high-strung. On the credit side of the ledger, They are usually gifted with artistic talent and especially generous measure of personal charm. Second decan, January 31st through February 9th. The decanate is ruled by Mercury. Persons born during this portion of the zodiacal month are particularly gifted communicators. They have powerful drives and high ambitions which they very often realize. This is the Aquarian decanate that produces people most likely to achieve great financial success. Wow. Third decan, February 10th through the 19th. The moon rules here. Its influences result in rapid changes and there are likely to be frequent disappointments. However, these are usually temporary, short-lived. Natives are apt to be restless in their early years, but Saturn wields a steadying, stabilizing influence after they reach their late 20s or early 30s. Females born during this decade are inclined to be extremely sensual. Alright, my people, so that is it. That is all that she wrote for Ancient Astrological Secrets of the Jews Revealed. And I'm kind of glad that I read the way I did. I started reading at Pisces and it was very positive what he said about Pisces, and ended here reading Aquarius and it was quite positive what he's saying about Aquarius. So I started and ended on a positive note for this entire read of the entire astrological circle, the circle of life I like to call it. And so I really do hope that you all enjoyed these readings from this fantastic book. My book has fallen apart on me. I'm going to have to get some crazy glue out because I do want to keep this book. The book is old as I don't know what. 45 plus years old and it's falling apart. It's just a little raggedy paperback. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I doubt that the book is in print, and I don't know if I can even go on Amazon and anything and try to get a second copy. I'm just going to have to tape it up. So yes, my people, that once again is Ancient Astrological Secrets of the Jews Revealed by Reuven Shamrani, and I am very happy to have read it all to you. And I will be doing a new series from a different book coming very soon. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to take an entire year to read it. I'm not going to do it that way. But I hope you all enjoyed this reading for Aquarius. Blessings of peace and love and fantasticness to you who are Aquarians. Alright, my people. Blessings to you all.